Hello, this is Faith at House Fraud Homestead, and I am coming to you today with some thoughts about the holidays. This is the time of year where I tend to start thinking about holidays, and not maybe in the ways that some other homemakers might. I have a lot of issues around gift giving and holiday obligations and things like that, so that might color some of my perspective here. I'll warn you in advance. But I do also think that in homemaking, among homemakers, holidays tend to be a bit of a sport or a flex, or at worst, an obligation. They're a time when I think we individually pressure ourselves and subconsciously pressure each other to create this magical holiday environment for everyone in our lives at our own expense. And very often, the folks who are benefiting from this pressure are not our loved ones. They're corporations, they're not who we would have feeling, those warm fuzzies on the holidays. And so I wanted to just challenge a few of the common obligations I see among homemakers and hopefully empower some of you, like I'm hoping to empower myself, to set ourselves free from these obligations and set our loved ones free. Because as homemakers, we're setting the tone for the holidays in many cases, and often in trying to produce this vision of perfection and magic and everything you think the holidays should be for everybody around us, we end up spoiling it in some ways. So, first among these, of course, is giving out of obligation and giving quantities and qualities of gifts that we feel obliged to by other people or by what we've seen go before. As homemakers and homesteaders, if you're watching this too, we might perhaps have a little bit more time and a little bit less money for gifts. And I'm thinking back to when we were kids and the thought actually counted with gifts. You would, make some homemade candies and put them in a little thrift store tin, and that was your gift. Or you'd write an IOU for babysitting, and that was your gift. But we've collectively come to consider these small tokens of appreciation for each other as cheap or childish or insufficient in some ways. And I think that's a disservice, or it's a service to consumerism for one thing, but so often we're buying each other gifts that we're not going to use and we don't want, and we feel a little bit guilty accepting because we're just going to give it to Goodwill or regift it, and someone has gone to all this effort. So it creates this vicious cycle of guilt and obligation and consumption that doesn't need to be taking place. So we're far enough away from, standard gift-giving holidays that there's still a lot of time to rethink knocking down the doors on Black Friday to buy everybody something so that you could say you bought them something. Like, who needs another scented candle because they're in your life? That's the kind of thing where you're buying for the sake of buying because there will be some negative social consequence if you don't, is only benefiting corporations who are selling you those items. So it's not too late to throw some herbs in a bottle of vodka and make a flavored liqueur for somebody, or make some jams or jellies, or if someone has some cookies they really like that you make, that's easy too. Or even just asking people what they can use. Like, hey, I have some time to babysit or do some yard work. Would that be beneficial to you? That kind of thing. And that can often be more meaningful than, oh, I see this color all around your house, so I bought you this random object in this color. Things like that. And it takes courage to do that, I think, to risk being the person at the dinner table who has ostensibly brought less to share and brought less to gift. But I think we're reaching a kind of a race to the bottom in terms of outbuying each other or feeling like we have to reciprocate an equal or greater monetary value if someone buys us something. My favorite gifts are often the ones that either I know I'm going to use and someone asked me about in advance, or ones they didn't get me at all because there are things I don't have to find a home for in my house or get rid of at some point. Or consumables. Consumables are great. If, you're gifting someone who doesn't have a dietary restriction and you can accommodate that, then that's fantastic. Or making someone a nice meal or giving someone experience. Look to love languages for things like that. Very often, if gifts aren't your love language or aren't the other party's love language, then that's just a waste of time for everyone involved. So that's my spiel on gifts. I would just encourage you to think about who's benefiting from this gift and whether you're really just trying to check someone off of a list and tick a box off that this person's covered and they're not going to come for you because you didn't get them something. Secret Santas are great too. They let a whole group of people just give gifts for one person and can be a bit more tailored and less expensive that way. So there's a lot of options out there to get around the gift obligation, but as often the host of these events, we have a unique opportunity to break this vicious cycle and say, hey, we don't need to do gifts or gifts of only this monetary value, or you can even do a theme like, hey, bring a favorite used book to share, or a consumable, or something like that. And you can have a lot of fun with the gift-giving tradition without making it this consumerist flex and this obligation. So that's one thought. Another is the hosting aspect of it. If you ask my husband or my father-in-law and several other guys I know in particular, I can't speak to kids, I don't have any, there's a bit of a wincing on their part around holidays because they know the women in their lives are going to flip out a little bit trying to make everything perfect. And that is often something that we as women put on ourselves, I think. Most of the guys I know would be happy to just order a pizza and call it a day. And I can't say I've perfectly well spit this out. I still freak out when company comes over, and I still feel like my worth as a person is wrapped up in how good the house looks and how good the food is. But that is selfish on my part. That is me trying to prove something to myself. And if you were to poll the people in your lives who you'd be hosting, they'd probably have much lower expectations of the experience than you do. And if you think back on the memories you're trying to create, do you want those memories to be of everyone having a good time and you being present, or of you scrambling to get the house clean and biting everyone in the house's heads off to make it look perfect for somebody else? So if the thought of making a giant turkey dinner is filling you with dread and you're taking it out on your household, maybe this is the year to order a damn pizza. Or to get takeout at somewhere who will do that, or do an easy potluck kind of deal. It doesn't have to be a production. And it doesn't have to mean something about you and your homemaking if you don't make that the case for yourself. If the goal is to set a tone for the day and stressing yourself out is going to set a negative tone, then that should be some guidance that maybe you do something a little bit different. So that's my thoughts there. I think it's become almost tropish that, the lady of the house is going to lose her mind on a holiday, and, you could go down the path of, well, if the household just chipped in more, we wouldn't have this issue, but I don't think it's incumbent on other people to meet our unrealistic standards that we're holding ourselves to for silly reasons. And, I get where they come from. I get that there's been this unspoken standard of perfection that we've been perpetuating amongst ourselves for some time, but we have an opportunity again to break that cycle. And I will probably not be the first to do it. I will probably still be one to flip out a little bit at couch cushions being out of order or the wrong dish towels being out for the holiday, but if you're braver than I am, that is another way to add to your family's collective relaxation and enjoyment of the day by just letting yourself chill out. And this next one's going to be controversial, but I'm also a proponent of not getting together with people solely out of obligation, solely because it's the holidays. If there is someone in your life that you dread coming home to, or if you're making everyone being present an obligation, I would just challenge what that's actually accomplishing. Forcing people together on holidays rarely makes for good memories. This is where you get like the uncle at the dinner table who no one really wants to be around, who's just going to upset everybody, but you feel you have to include him, that kind of thing. There's enough time before these holidays to maybe make some compromises where everyone, including this problematic person, would have a better time if we did things this way. And if it didn't become a command performance that everyone be here together right now this way, the way we've always done it. And sometimes that means not seeing each other at all. And sometimes that's for the best. So if you needed permission to do any of these things to have a better holiday and give your household a better holiday, consider this permission granted from a stranger on the internet. And I hope to be on before said holidays, but if not, I wish everybody sanity and presence with an NCE and not an NTS. As corny as that is. If you want to go back to the true meaning of Christmas or whatever, I highly doubt it's buying as much stuff as possible for people you don't necessarily like. So that's my ramble for the day. Hope everyone has a good one. If you have any thoughts on this, do feel free to comment. There's been less overall engagements in the last couple months, which is causing me. This sounds narcissistic, it probably is, but concerned that I'm not reaching as many of you as I used to, or not providing as much value. So if you have thoughts, positive or negative to that effect, go ahead and leave those as well. And till next time, happy all the things. Bye.